Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Fenton, and I'm really looking forward to working with you over the next few days. As you listen to me read, please make sure to write questions for us to discuss later. Lenny's Red Letter Day by Bernard Ashley. Lenny Frazier is a boy in my class. Well, he's a boy in my class when he comes, but to tell the truth, he doesn't come very often. He stays away from school for a week at a time, and I'll tell you where he is. He's at the shops, stealing things sometimes, but mainly just opening the doors for people. He does it to keep himself warm. I've seen him in our shop. When he opens the door for someone, he stands around inside till he gets sent out. Of course, it's quite warm enough in school, but he hates coming. He's always got long, tangled hair, not very clean, and his clothes are too big or too small, and they call him Fleabag. He sits at a desk without a partner, and no one wants to hold his hand in games. All right, they're not to blame, but he isn't either. His mother never gets up in the morning, and his house is dirty. It's a house that everybody runs past very quickly. But Lenny makes me laugh a lot. In the playground, he's always saying funny things out of the corner of his mouth. He doesn't smile when he does it. He says these funny things as if he's complaining. For example, when Mr. Cox, the deputy head, came to school in his new car, Lenny came too, that day, but he didn't join in all the admiration. He looked at the little car and said to me, "Anyone missing a skateboard?" He misses all the really good things, though, the school journeys and the outing, and it was a big shame about his birthday. It happens like this with birthdays in our class. Miss Blake lets everyone bring their cards and perhaps a small present to show the others. Then everyone sings happy birthday and we give them bumps in the playground. If people can't bring a present, they tell everyone what they've got instead. I happen to know some people make up the things they've got just to be up with the others, but Miss Blake says it's good to share our red letter days. I didn't know about these red letter days before. I thought they were something special in the post, like my dad handles in his post office in the shop. But Miss Blake told us they are red printed words in the prayer books, meaning special days. Well, what I'm telling you is that Lenny came to school on his birthday this year. Of course, he didn't tell us it was his birthday, and as it all worked out, it would have been better if Miss Blake hadn't noticed it in the register. But how nice, she said. Lenny's here on his birthday, and we can share it with him. It wasn't very nice for Lenny. He didn't have any cards to show the class, and he couldn't think of a birthday present to tell us about. He couldn't even think of anything funny to say out of the corner of his mouth. He just had to stand there looking foolish until Miss Blake started singing of Happy Birthday, and then half the people didn't bother to sing it. I felt very sorry for him, I can tell you, but that wasn't the worst. The worst happened in the playground. I went to take his head in for bumps, and no one would come and take his feet. They all walked away. I had to finish up just patting him on the head with my hands, and before I knew what was coming out, I was telling him, "You can come home to tea with me for your birthday," and he said yes, he would. My father works very hard in the post office in a corner of our shop, and my mother stands at the door all day where people pay for their groceries. When I get home from school, I carry cardboard boxes out to the yard and jump on them, or my big sister Nalini shows me which shelves to fill, and I fill them with jam or chapatis or birthday cards. On this day, though, I thought I'd use my key and go in through the side door and take Lenny straight upstairs, then hurry down again and tell my mom and dad that I'd got a friend in for an hour. I thought I can get a birthday card and some cake and ice cream from the shop, and Lenny can go home before they come upstairs. I wanted him to do that before my dad saw who it was, because he knows Lenny from hanging around the shops. Lenny said some funny things on the way home from school, but I couldn't relax and enjoy them properly. I felt ashamed because I was wishing all the time that I hadn't asked him to come home with me. The bottoms of his trousers dragged along the ground. He had no buttons on his shirt, so his sleeves flapped, and his hair must have made it hard for him to see where he was going. I was in luck because the shop was very busy. My dad had a queue of people to pay out, and my mom had a crowd at the till. I left Lenny in the living room and went down to get what I wanted from the shop. I found him a birthday card with a badge in it. When I came back, he was sitting in a chair and the television was switched on. He's a good one at helping himself, I thought. We watched some cartoons, and then we played Monopoly, which Lenny had seen on the shelf. We had some crisps and cakes and lemonade while we were playing, but I had only one eye on my Monopoly moves. The other eye was on the clock all the time. I was getting very impatient for the game to finish, because it looked as if Lenny would still be there when they came up from the shop. I did some really bad moves so I could lose quickly, but it's very difficult to hurry up Monopoly, as you may know. In the end, I did such stupid things like buying too many houses and selling Park Lane and Mayfair that he won the game. He must have noticed what I was doing, but didn't say anything to me. Hurriedly, I gave him his birthday card. He pretended not to take very much notice of it, but he put it in his shirt and kept feeling it to make sure it was still there. At least, that's what I thought he was making sure about there inside his shirt. It was just the right time to say goodbye, and I'm just thinking he can go without anyone seeing him when my sister came in. She had run up from the shop for something or other, and she put her head inside the room. At some other time I would have laughed out loud at her stupid face. When she saw Lenny, she looked as if she'd opened the door and seen something really unpleasant. I could gladly have given her a good kick. She shut the door a lot quicker than she opened it, and I felt really bad about it. "Nice to meet you," Lenny joked, but his face said he wanted to go too, and I wasn't going to be the one to stop him. I let him out and heaved a big sigh. I felt good about being kind to him, the way you do when you've done a sponsored swim, and I'd done it without my mom and dad frowning at me about who I brought home. Only Nalini had seen him, and everyone knows she can make things seem worse than they are. I washed the glasses, and I can remember singing while I stood at the sink. I was feeling very pleased with myself. My good feeling lasted about 15 minutes, just long enough to be wearing off slightly. Then Nalini came in again and destroyed it altogether. "Prakash, have you seen the envelope that was on the television top?" she asked. "I put it on here when I came in from school." "No," I said. It was very soon to be getting worried, but things inside me were turning over like clothes in a washing machine. I knew already where all this was going to end up. "What was in it?" My voice sounded to me as if it was coming from a great distance. She looked everywhere in the room, but she kept coming back to the television top as if the envelope would mysteriously appear there. She stood there now, staring at me. "What was in it? What was in it was only a postal order for £5, my money for my school trip." "What does it look like?" I asked, but I think we both knew that I was only stalling. We both knew where it had gone. "It's a white piece of paper in a brown envelope. It says postal order on it, in red." My washing machine inside nearly went into a fast spin when I heard that. It was certainly Lenny's red letter day. How could he be so ungrateful, I thought, when I was the one who was kind to him? I clenched my fist while I pretended to look around. I wanted to punch him hard on the nose. Then Nalini said what was in both our minds. "It's that dirty kid who's got it. I'm going down to tell Dad. I don't know what makes you so stupid." Right at that moment, I didn't know what made me so stupid either as to leave him up there on his own. I should have known. Didn't Miss Banks once say something about leopards never changing their spots? When the shop closed, there was an awful business in the room. My dad was shouting angry at me, and my mom couldn't think of anything good to say. "You know where this boy lives," my dad said. "Tell me now while I telephone the police. There's only one way of dealing with this sort of thing. If I go up there, I shall only get a mouthful of abuse. As if it isn't bad enough for you to see me losing things out of the shop, you have to bring untrustworthy people upstairs." My mom saw how unhappy I was, and she tried to make things better. "Can't you cancel the postal order?" she asked him. "Of course not. Even if he hasn't had time to cash it somewhere else by now, how long do you think the post office would let me be sub-postmaster if I did that sort of thing?" I was feeling very bad for us, but I thought of the police calling at Lenny's house was making me feel worse. "I'll get it back," I said. "I'll go to his house. It's only along the road from school, and if I don't get it back, I can get the exact number where he lives. Then you can telephone the police." I never spoke to my dad like that before, but I was feeling all shaking inside, and all the world seemed a different place to me that evening. I didn't give anybody a chance to argue with me. I ran straight out of the room and down to the street. My secret hopes of seeing Lenny before I got to his house didn't come to anything. All too quickly I was there, pushing back his broken gate and walking up the cracked path of to his front door. There wasn't a door knocker. I flapped the letterbox and started to think my dad was right. The police would have been better doing this than me. I had never seen his mother before, only heard about her from other kids who lived near. When she opened the door, I could see she was a small lady with a tight mouth and eyes that said, "Who are you?" and "Go away from here" at the same time. She opened the door only a little bit, ready to slam it on me. I had to be quick. "Is Lenny in, please?" I asked her. She said, "What's it to you?" "He's a friend of mine," I told her. "Can I see him, please?" She made a face as if she had something nasty in her mouth. "Lenny!" she shouted. "Come here!" Lenny came slinking down the passage like one of those scared animals in a circus. He kept his eyes on her hands, and once he'd seen who was at the door, there weren't any funny remarks coming from him. She jerked her head at me. "How many times have I told you not to bring kids to the house?" she shouted at him. She made it sound as if she was accusing him of bad crime. Lenny had nothing to say. She was hanging over him like a vulture about to fix its talons into a rabbit. It looked so out of place that it didn't seem real. Then it came to me that it could be play acting, the two of them. He had given her the £5, and she was putting this on to get rid of me quickly. But suddenly she slammed the door so hard in my face I could see how the glass in it had came to be broken. "Well, I don't want kids coming to my door," she shouted at him on the other side. "Breaking the gate, breaking the windows, wearing out our path. How can I keep this place nice when I'm forever dragging to the door?" She hit him then. I know she did. There was no play acting about the bang as a foot hit the door, and Lenny yelling out as if a desk lid had come down on his head. But I didn't stop to hear any more. I'd heard enough to turn my stomach sick. Poor Lenny. I'd been worried about my mom and dad seeing him, and look what happened when his mother saw me. She had to be mad, that woman, and Lenny had to live with her. I didn't feel like crying, although my eyes had a hot rawness in them. More than anything, I just wanted to be back home with my family, and the door shut tight. Seeing my dad's car turn the corner was as if my dearest wish had been granted. He was going slowly, searching for me, with Nalini sitting up front with big eyes. I waved and ran to them. I got in the back, and I drew in my breath to tell them to go straight home. It was worth £50 not to have them knocking at Lenny's house, never mind 5, but they were too busy trying to speak to me. Have you been to the house? Did you say anything? Yes, I've been to the house, but did you accuse him? No, I didn't have the chance. They both sat back in their seats as if the car would drive itself home. Well, we must be grateful for that. We've found the postal order. I could hardly believe what my ears were hearing. They had found the postal order. Lenny hadn't taken it after all. It wasn't in its envelope, Lenny said. He must have taken it out when he was tempted by it, but we can't accuse him of screwing up an envelope and hiding it in his pocket. No, I was saying, urging her to get on with things and tell me. So where was it? In with the Monopoly money. He couldn't put it back on the television, so he must have kept it in his pile of Monopoly money and put it back in the box. Oh. Mom found it, and all the commotion after you went out, she knocked the box off the chair, and when she picked up the bits, there was the postal order. It's certainly a good job you said nothing about it, my dad said, and a good job I didn't telephone the police. We should have looked very small. All I could think was how small I had just felt, standing at Lenny's slammed door and hearing what his mother had said to him. And what about him getting beaten for having a friend call out his house? My dad tried to be cheerful. Anyway, who won? He asked. Lenny won the Monopoly, I said. In bed that night, I lay awake a long time, thinking about it all. Lenny had taken some hard punishment from his mother, some red-letter day it had turned out to be. He would bear some hard thoughts about Prakash Patel. He didn't come to school for a long time after that, but when he did, my heart sank into my boots. He came straight across the playground, the same flappy sleeves and dragging trouser bottoms, the same long tangled hair, and he came straight for me. What would he do? Hit me? Spit in my face? As he got close, I saw what was on his shirt, pinned there like a medal. It was his birthday badge. It's a good game, that Monopoly, he said out of the corner of his mouth. It was as if he was trying to tell me something. Yes, I said. It's a good game, all right. I hadn't got the guts to tell him that I'd gone straight home that night and thrown it in the dustbin. Dealings with houses didn't appeal to me anymore.